It's the love on the south side, yeah, that's right. Reppin' Inglewood, got my hustle tight. From Chi-Town streets where the wind blows fierce, built up like steel, can't nobody pierce.
Hey you guys, welcome back to another video. This your girl D-Love from the south side, Inglewood for life. Chicago, that is. Yes, as you can tell from the title today, I am diving into the story of Mayor, but then Trustee Tiffany Henyard in the town of Dolton, Illinois. Let me tell you what Dolton is dealing with right now with his current board. It's nothing new. This has been brewing, going on for years. Now, in my research, I found that Tiffany Henyard first became a trustee in 2013. And let me just say, her initial tenure as a trustee was eventful, to put it mildly. She stirred up plenty of chaos during her time on the board. In fact, Dolton has been tangled in court battles for over a decade. And guess what? And Tiffany Henyard has been right there and slap in the middle of it all. Can you imagine how much the village has spent on attorney fees? That's a number I would like to know. We can forward it, but we may not get the answer. But here's the kicker. Even with all the controversy, she was reelected as trustee in 2017. During the campaign, she started calling herself the People's Choice. And by 2021, when she ran for mayor, she upgraded her self-proclaimed title to drumroll, super mayor. Spoiler alert, that's when she actually won the election and made history as Dolton's first female mayor. But hold up. This video isn't just about her rise to power. No, we are rewinding, going back to 2015, back to a court case that feels eerily similar to what's happening now. Trust me, this story will have you thinking, wait a minute, hold up. Haven't we seen this movie before? But hold up again. PSA, this is entertainment purposes only. I am not an attorney. I do not practice. I don't do none of that. I'm just a layman's person doing regular research. Back to the regular programming. So now grab your popcorn and sit back and let's unpack the drama of Dolton, Illinois. It's a wild ride. Now let me give you a quick rundown of what's happened and why Dolton found itself wrapped up in this case. See, in November 2015, Dolton Mayor Riley Rogers initiated efforts to recall 3 village trustees, Stan Brown, Tiffany Henyard, and Robert Hunt Jr., who were elected alongside of him. Him is the mayor at that time, Riley. In April 2013, they all won and was elected together. Now, the mayor accused the trustees of obstructing policy decisions such as blocking the sale of a financially burdensome senior housing complex, which he believed was detrimental to this village interest. I'm sure this sounds familiar. Remember when they talk about Melanie Fitness Center currently in the meetings? Well, this move was notable as a municipal officials recalls are rare in suburban Chicago politics, with only one other incident in years.
We need to clean up this administration, and we need to get better service.
And that voice you hear is or was the Mayor Riley.
Well, we definitely need to clean up here.
And the voice you hear now, somehow we definitely need to clean up, is Stanley Brown. They still talking about the same thing from 2015 to 2024.
These are the nominees that support Riley Rogers. Robert E. Hunt Jr., Tiffany Henyard, Stanley Stan Brown.
I've been a resident for about 25 years.
Side note, I didn't know that Robert Hunt, the finance director currently at Thornton Township, was a trustee in Dolton in 2020. Well, it had to be 2013. Interesting, right? This is a sad note. That didn't work out right, huh? Okay, here's an article. And again, this is just really a summary of what they went to court. And I'm going to let the computer read to you, just in case I found it interesting reading. So here we go.
Trustees may face recall. November 30th, 2015. Dolton voters may have the chance to recall 3 trustees, something that has happened only one other time in recent years in suburban Chicago politics. The trustees, Stan Brown, Tiffany Henyard, and Robert Hunt Jr., were first elected in April 2013, as was Dolton Mayor Riley Rogers. The political marriage has been rocky from the start, with Rogers and the trustees repeatedly clashing, though in a sign of how dysfunctional things have become, the two sides can't even agree about their disagreements. Brown and Henyard say they've butted heads with Rogers over municipal government spending, personnel matters, and the awarding of liquor licenses. Rogers says it was never about liquor licenses. He claims the trustees have purposely opposed proposals and policies to try and hurt him politically. As an example, he says the 3 trustees blocked the sale of the Dorchester, a money-losing senior housing complex that at the time was owned by Dolton taxpayers. Dolton has since sold the Dorchester for about $3 million, though Rogers says the village could have sold the property for a higher price 2 years ago. They're working against our best interests, he says. Now, if Rogers has his way, voters in the working-class South suburb will be asked at the March 15th election to decide if Brown, Henyard, and Hunt should keep their jobs. If one or all of them are removed, it will mark only the second time in recent years that a municipal official in suburban Chicago has been recalled, observers say. Lisa Stone, a Buffalo Grove Village board member, was voted out of office in 2010 amid complaints that she was disruptive during meetings. Stone denies that was the case. Brown and Henyard say they haven't acted improperly and claim Rogers wants to oust them and Hunt only because the 3 oppose his policies. He wants complete power, Henyard says about the mayor. In June, the Dolton Village Board passed an ordinance that allowed for the recall of elected officials if certain criteria are met. The ordinance passed by a 4-3 margin, with Rogers casting the tie-breaking vote. Brown, Henyard, and Hunt voted no. Under the ordinance, if an official is to be recalled, petitions must first be signed by at least 25% of voters who cast a ballot in Dolton's last mayoral election. In April 2013, there were 3,565 votes cast for mayor, according to Cook County Clerk David Orr's office. Under the ordinance, that means Rogers and his supporters must obtain at least 891 signatures. Rogers says he's been passing petitions, but declined to disclose how many signatures he has gathered. The deadline to file with Orr's office is December 14th. We're close to our goal, Rogers says. If he achieves it and the petitions withstand any challenges, voters at the March 15th election will be asked to decide if Brown, Henyard, and Hunt should keep their jobs. If a majority of voters say no, one or all of the trustees will be removed from the board and Rogers can appoint their successors. Rogers says he wants that opportunity because the village needs to move forward. We feel it's wrong and unjust, Brown says. We need money spent on a lot of things. We have a lot of empty houses and the roads are bad. And Rogers is spending money on an attorney to recall 3 trustees. Brown, Henyard, and Hunt have asked a judge to repeal the ordinance on the grounds that it's unconstitutional, according to a copy of their lawsuit filed September 24th, in Cook County Circuit Court. A ruling is expected next month. John Murphy, Dolton's village attorney, says that as a home rule community, Dolton has the authority to pass this kind of ordinance. What's more, he says it's consistent with state and national constitutions, and a municipal recall has happened once before in the home rule community of Buffalo Grove, located in Cook and Lake counties. The purpose of a recall election is to remove an elected official before the end of his or her term. In court filings, Murphy says the political maneuver is most commonly used in local elections, as many as 29 states allow for recalls. It doesn't happen very often, says Brad Cole, executive director of the Illinois Municipal League, which is an advisor and advocate for local government, but isn't involved in the Dolton matter. It's usually something really extreme, and people can't wait until the next election. You don't see that too often on the municipal level.
Interesting.
Dolton trustees may face recall. November 30th,
Oh, Dila.
2015. Dolton voters may have the chance
Sorry.
to recall 3 trustees.
She still want to tell her story. But after you reading and listening and following this article, you can see a lot of this stuff has already been going on. It happened before. So it's confusing that they say, oh, we never been through this before. Truly, Dolton has been. Maybe they forget. Don't give me the line. So let's move on from there. Okay. So let me just summarize that article for you. So like in 2015, Dolton went to the appellate court. First, not summarizing. They went to the circuit court. The circuit court says, yes, they were right. However, Dolton, let me sum it up correctly. So Dolton went to the appellate court because the village board voted to create a recall law was deemed invalid. The recall effort needed at least 891 signatures, which 25% of the votes cast in 2013 mayoral election. However, the effort did not go to vote because it lacked enough signatures. Now, I want to show you the plaintiff eventually went to the appellate court. And I'm going to explain to you why they went to the appellate court, even though they had won their going to the circuit court. Okay, so this is the case appellate, and you can see first district. So the case number is number 1-15-3374, dated 01/11-2016. Now, picture this. Why don't you just picture this? A few elected officials, Tiffany Henyard, Stanley H. Brown, and Robert G. Hunt Jr., found themselves in a battle with the local government they served. Here's the backdrop. The village of Dolton passed an ordinance allowing voters to recall or remove officials from office before their term was up. However, the village didn't first get approval from the people through a public vote. Sounds familiar? Or a referendum, which the the 3 trustees argued was required by law. So the officials took the village to court saying, you can't just put this recall rule in place without a vote. It's unfair and could be unconstitutional. Now, the case went back and forth. Eventually, the court agreed with the official, declaring the ordinance was invalid since the village hadn't gotten votes. Consent first. Now, feeling that they won, a big victory. And this document in front of us, the official then asked the court to have the village of Dolton cover their legal fees. Sounds familiar? Under a federal law designated to protect people's civil rights. But there was a twist. The court ruled they didn't qualify for these fees because their case primarily relied on state law, not the federal civil rights claim. So in the end, the case is about local officials pushing back against a rule they felt wasn't fairly put in place. But the court decided that their win didn't entitle them to attorney fees they wanted. Sounds familiar? It's a tale of democracy, legal technicalities, and the fine print of what happens when a village ordinance oversteps its bounds. Sounds familiar? I know it does. Now, in 2017, the trustees went beyond the appellate court. They eventually went to the Supreme Court to force the village of Dolton to pay their legal fees. In front of us, we have number 116-2475, dated July 18th, 2017. I'm not going to read this verbatim, but I'm going to sum this up for you. So in 2015, the village of Dolton, Illinois enacted an ordinance allowing for the removal of elected officials without first seeking a voter's approval through a referendum. Now, the three village trustees, Tiffany, Stanley, and Robert, challenged this ordinance, arguing that as a home rule unit, the village was required to obtain voters' consent before implementing such a measure. Now, the court agreed with the trustee in validating the ordinance due to the lack of prior referendum. Following this decision, the trustees sought to have their legal fees covered under the federal law that permits fee awards to parties who prevail in civil rights cases. However, the court denied the request and determining that the trustee federal claims were neither substantial nor closely related to their state law argument. As a result, the trustees were not entitled to have their attorney fees paid by the village, and it was affirmed. And this is the court case. So the higher court agreed with the lower court, basically. Okay. Interesting, right? Sounds familiar? So, in the end, Dolton has been caught up in a back and forth legal battle between the village and its trustees. What's really intriguing is how Dolton handled similar situations in the past with another mayor before Tiffany Henyard. How did the recall attempt for Mayor Tiffany Henyard failed when this wasn't the first time Dolton faced a recall? It makes you wonder if someone dropped the ball this time around. Well, that is clearly stated and not said. And let's not forget a similar situation happened in Buffalo Grove, Illinois, years ago. So, it's funny how history surely has a way of repeating itself. Well, I hope you found this video informative and thought-provoking. Stay tuned for more insight and discussion on community issues. This your girl, D Love, straight from the south side of Chicago, Inglewood for life. And don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Peace.
It's D Love on the south side, yeah, that's right. Reppin' Inglewood, got my hustle tight. From From Chi-Town streets where the wind blows, fierce built up like steel, can't